Hi everyone, I'm Tigran Danielian, principal at Triple S Ventures, and this is the first part of your guide into the VC world. This video will be useful for anybody interested in pursuing a career at VCs, starting their VCs, and will provide useful insights for everybody who seeks investments from VCs. Today we will speak about private equity, VC fund and structure, and VC processes and terms. Let us start with private equity. So, what is a private equity? Private equity refers to investment funds generally organized as limited partnerships that buy and restructure companies that are not publicly traded. So, two important parts. Firstly, not publicly traded, and secondly, organized as limited partnerships. Private equity is a big category in the finance world, and VCs are part of it. So, what are VCs? Venture capital is a form of private equity financing that is provided by venture capital firms or funds to startups, early stage, and emerging companies with high growth potential. Now, if you are interested in finance, you are most probably familiar with the Wall Street. However, if you want to pursue a career in VC, there is another location that you need to know. Sand Hill Road, California, perhaps is the biggest hub for VCs, including such giants as Sequoia Capital, Altus Ventures, Kleiner Perkins, and many more. Although there are different VC structures, which we will discuss during our second video, today we will speak about the most common VC fund structure, which is a limited partnership. So, how VC funds are formed? Meet John. John has experience in IT or finance and a good understanding of the startup ecosystem. John finds individuals who are interested in private equity investments or institutional investors. They provide John capital for investment with the expectation of future capital gains. Thus, the limited partnership is formed, where individuals and the institutional investors are limited partners, and John is general partner. Limited partners, or LPs, do not participate in the management of the capital and have limited liability. Or, in other words, they are only liable up to the amount of their investment. And general partners, or GPs, take the responsibility for the management of the capital. Now, usually, John does not work alone. He finds like minded people or partners. They collectively choose a managing partner, who is essentially the highest executive position in the VC. Partners do not work alone. Usually, VCs have a separate operational unit. To manage the operational unit, VCs hire principals. Principals are heads of the operational unit, and basically, they have the highest position in the VC hierarchy after the partners. Sometimes in VCs, you may also find another position called vice presidents, but most usually you have principals. Principals lead teams of associates, sometimes with different levels, like junior associates, senior associates, etc., and teams of analysts. In some cases, VCs also have venture partners who do not engage in the direct management of the fund, but work on a deal by deal basis, hunting good deals and expecting their remuneration from the future success of their particular deals. This is a basic structure of VC. Of course, different VCs have different structures, and VC may have an advisory board, mentors, etc. Most commonly, there is an investment committee, which we will also discuss during our second video. However, the common characteristic of VCs is that they usually do not have a lot of employees and they try to hunt the best and talented employees. Next, VC funds have different targets. Usually, the targets can be grouped by three categories. By location, VCs can target only local companies or global companies. By industry, VCs may target single industry or have a specific target group of industries, or they may decide to invest in all industries. And the third category, this is target by stage, by the stage of the company. So let us discuss the stages of the companies in more details. So this is the technology adoption lifecycle, which is a very popular framework. Write in the comments if you don't know this framework and want me to create a separate video explaining this framework. Now, there are different approaches for dividing the startup and venture development stages, but I have used the most classic approach with four main stages. So, I have tried to put the development stages on the technology adoption lifecycle. These are approximate points. So, first stages are pre-seed and seed. I've put these stages together because usually there is a very subtle difference between these two. During these stages, startups work on the development of proof of concept, and if they are successful in getting POC, they start working on the product development and development of their MVP, which is minimum viable product. Again, if you find any concept or any idea with which you are not familiar, please write in the comments and I will provide explanation. So, during the stages, startups work on the market research, understanding their market, their competitors, building their initial team, writing their business plan. And here we are speaking about business model canvas, not the general business plan. And this is a stage of pre-marketing. Basically, in this stage, startups also start to think about their GTM, go-to-market strategy. So the next stage is the early stage. Throughout this stage, companies, startups engage in the testing or pilot versions of their products. It is also possible that the products are just commercialized. In this stage, companies are usually from 0 to 3 years in a business, and what the companies really work on is networking. And here is the point where VCs can provide a lot of benefit to their portfolio companies by capitalizing on the network of VCs. And the last stage, which we are going to discuss, is the expansion stage. This stage is described with the growth in the working capital, growth in the account receivables and payables, which are accounting terms. Basically speaking, this is the stage of boost of accounting activity for the companies. Companies not necessarily have profits at this stage, but they actively engage in the shipment of their products or provision of services. They are starting to think about expansion, about growth, about future marketing, perhaps even about R&D, research and development. And what startups or companies at this stage seek is a strategic advice. And this is the field where VCs also can provide a lot of help to their portfolio companies by providing them strategic advice about high level strategy of future development and future growth. Now, from this chart, you may form an impression that doing a startup is a straight line. Of course, to put at its mildest, this is a misleading impression. So let's have a few seconds to remind us what is it to work in a startup. Now, returning to VCs, as startups have their stages, their road of development, so do VC funds. So, the entire life of the fund after raising the capital can be divided into two parts: investment period, the period of active investments to new companies, and the period of follow on investments. So, the first period, the investment period, is usually from 2 to 5 years. Throughout this period, VC funds engage into active screening and investment closing into new companies. And the other period, follow on investment period, is usually from 5 to 8 years, with having about 10 years in total on average. This is the period of additional investments into the portfolio companies. Throughout this period, VCs engage into advising, mentoring their portfolio companies, portfolio management, and of course, exits. Let us also remember this term, a committed capital, which is the total amount of capital promised by LPs, limited partners, over the lifetime of the fund. Finally, let us also discuss the capital flow in VC funds, which can be fairly speaking summarized by the 220 rule. So, VC funds throughout their life operate through management fees, which are annual fees from committed capital for operational expenses of the fund. And usually, as a rule of thumb, these are 2% annually of the entire committed capital. Secondly, the carried interest or carry. This is the percentage of profits or capital gains which will be transferred to general partners. Usually, this is fixed to 20%. However, there are certain VCs which, capitalizing on their prestige and their track record, they have even higher percentage. It is also important to remember that speaking about the quality of the VC activities, the carried interests have much more significant role. Management fees are just fees used for the operational expenses, and these should not be treated as success factor. So that's it. Thank you. I hope this was interesting and useful. Please write in the comments if you have any additional questions, or if you want me to create videos on certain separate topics which we have covered in this video. We will have second part with a more detailed discussion of the VC operations. And as always, please subscribe and like.